In today's show, we discuss USA gun laws from a foreign point of view.
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasula and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello my friend, I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, Tony, what the hell? Hey?
I often wonder, why do I even ask you this
I ask
question?
myself that question all the flipping time, pal, I swear.
Oh dear, come on, be bright and cheery and say hello to our audience, come on.
God. All right, hello audience, how are you? Damn it. So, okay, well, you know what I always do in response. Now, unfortunately, I haven't prepared a nice little joke for you.
Oh, hooray!
I don't mind asking you this one simple question.
Go on.
What's green and yellow and eats nuts?
What's green
And
yellow
and eats
and
nuts?
eats nuts? No idea.
Gonorrhea.
Oh. Oh. That is horrible.
Revenge. You asked me to say hello to the audience. I get my revenge. Oh,
Oh dear. I mean, we have to rethink this part of the show. Anyway,
at least I didn't ask you what's pink, black, and has 17 nipples. Don't worry.
I don't want to know.
I
don't want to know.
You really don't want to know.
Okay, right.
For those who do want to know, please go on to Locals, and I'll tell you.
Okay. It's locals.com and just search for
Locals.com. Search
the
for
TNT talk show. Right,
Well
cool. Right, today's topic. It's an interesting one, actually. We're going to discuss USA gun laws, but what it looks like to us from a foreign perspective. So, Tayo, do you want to kick things off?
Not really, since it's one of yours. I mean, from my perspective, I've heard the arguments, sort of, and I understand that it's in their constitution and whatnot, but it seems so obviously bonkers to me that I don't really think there's that much to argue about. It's just, what was it the other day I read? Now I'm going to have to be very careful here because I can't. An American city, I don't remember which one, I believe it was Chicago,
okay,
but I may be maligning Chicago, and if so, I'm very sorry. Okay. And I'll have to find out before I put it on Locals which city
it is. Okay.
But there's a city in America which has had in 2022 more murders than civilian deaths in Ukraine since the start of the war, for goodness sakes.
Wow. So they've had more deaths in this city, which you can corroborate at another time.
I believe it's Chicago. I'm not prepared
more deaths than actually in the Russian conflict in Ukraine.
Correct. Most of to civilians.
That is ridiculous.
Well, there we go. It's more than a war zone. More deaths than a war zone. And, that's with guns, man. They didn't do it with knives and with clubs.
I mean, it does seem really odd, doesn't it? I know it's in the American Constitution where they've got the right to bear arms, but don't you want to reconsider that? Because that was written when...
Good point.
It was written way back
They had
when...
muskets.
Yeah, exactly. It was
AK-47s, man.
And you can justify it. And also, now things have moved on. Obviously, gun technology has improved and got far more efficient, far more deadly, far more accurate. So, yes, if you want a right to bear arms, absolutely. But here's my 2 pennies worth of that, and that's a 2p is what we use as a currency in the UK. It means a small change. Why don't you have this ability to bear arms, but only within the confines of your own home? So there it's justified. You're protecting your realm, your abode, your family. That's where it should be. Anywhere outside of that, then the law changes. It should be different. It shouldn't be, you're defending yourself with firearms, 50 miles from where you live. That's not defending. In my eyes, anyway, that's my opinion. It just doesn't appear to be a defense case if you're going further afield with a gun and you shoot somebody. I know the argument we've often been said, oh well, the baddies all have the guns. Well, we have baddies in the UK, but they don't go killing everybody. They don't need to because they know there's no other threat from another person. So it's understanding where this danger lies. By having guns, then a baddie's going to think, well, I'm going to have a gun because the likelihood is they've got one. So it's tit for tat. If you want to stop these senseless murders, it's not to arm people even more. It's to take that away and slowly. It's not going to happen straight away, but over a generation, perhaps you slowly dwindle it down and make it harder for people to have a gun. Unless you're hunting, fine, you can hunt, but guess what? You don't have it with you. You go pick it up and then you go hunt and then you put it back and then you come home again. It shouldn't come back to you. So it's these sorts of thoughts that really Americans should look at. And it's not to take away your rights. It's not to take away guns forever. That's not the idea. But the idea is to look at things sensibly, because clearly arming people more to the teeth is not helping. It's not making it better. It actually makes it worse by the stats, and the stats back that up. So that's my 2 pennies worth based on this particular topic.
Without wanting to, I'm afraid I'm going to have to oppose you on this.
Okay.
Because I don't want to, because I fundamentally agree with you, but you said a couple of things which I think would make our American friends furious.
Okay.
You said keep guns within the confines of your house, your home, because the I don't call it a legislation. What is it called now? The thing in the Constitution specific that grants. There's an amendment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it the Second Amendment?
Second Amendment. Yeah.
It grants them the use of these access to firearms so that they can form a militia, right? And it actually says a well-formed militia to oppose tyranny. If the government becomes tyrannical, you're supposed to be able to form a well-formed militia, and that's why it should be armed, so that the US government cannot be tyrannical and impose its will upon you against the Constitution, for instance, right? So a fantastic idea. Let's all be armed. And if the government steps out of line, instead of Tayo's famous torches and pitchforks, we'll get out the old AK-47s and we'll roll down to Westminster, DC, and we'll explain ourselves, to the politicians. That's a fantastic idea. The problem is, what's a well-formed militia? And who's going to agree to the definition of a well-formed militia and say that, yes, you're part of a well-formed militia? When people stormed the Capitol Hill on the 6th of January, was it 2021 or 2020? I never remember. When they stormed I think it was 2021, wasn't it? Well, I don't know. Was it 2020? Who knows? I can't remember.
21.
Right. Even though they weren't armed, that wasn't deemed to be a well-formed militia, even though they were claimed that they were opposing a tyrannical government that was actually a tyrannical set of people who were usurping the government.
And how do you define?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's nice on paper, but in real life,
no.
That's point number one. Point number two: the American government has got nukes, and you haven't. Okay. So your teeny princey little AK-47s, they're not going to do anything. We all know about in Ukraine now the HIMARS system, shoot you from 300 miles away with pinpoint accuracy. You don't stand a chance. And it's all hogwash. That's not why you want your guns. You want your guns because it's fun. And, you can feel like a big man. 2 people would have died this afternoon if I had had a gun. One was a silly little girl who was on my, now for Americans, you have to think that we drive on the left and you guys drive on the right. So as a driver in England, I'm sitting in the right-hand seat, which in America would be
The
the
left seat.
passengers,
Yeah,
the
the left
passenger side.
seat. Yeah.
So I'm sitting what in America is the passenger side, but in England is the driver's side, right? And this woman is on my right, and she wants to go to the left-hand lane. She doesn't indicate. She doesn't let me know she's turning. She just picks up a little bit of speed and then cuts in front of me. And out of nowhere, if I hadn't had quick reactions, I'd still be explaining what happened to the police. I won't even be able to make this recording. And I was so annoyed that I speeded up, overtook her, and stamped on my brakes, as you do. But
as you do, that doesn't sound good.
Well, I tell you what, if I'd had a gun, I'd have shot this stupid little thing. And then someone behind me comes by about 30 seconds later and wags his finger at me. And I'm thinking to myself, you probably didn't even see what happened. And that's another person that I've chased after and gone boom, boom, boom. So I'd have been, two people gone, which is why you don't give Tayo a gun. Let's be honest. And I'm sure there are a lot of Tayos in America because a lot of people are dying. You can't arm the average, everybody is, I was going to think of a very nice word for Tony. It means calm and collected, but it's one word that means that, and it's a beautiful word, but I can't remember it right now, unfortunately.
You're trying to describe me with one word.
Yeah, it's all calm. It means calm and collected and, put together and, So you probably just going, like a typical Briton. And then just driven on, like a happy little camper.
Yeah, exactly.
We can give you a gun. You can't give me a gun. Is the point I'm trying to make, man. You really can't, right?
So what are you trying to say then? The average American shouldn't be armed based on that?
Because they're like Tayo, man. They're all like Tayo. Okay, so don't arm them. That's a bad idea. Yeah, I would love to have a gun because a couple of people need popping off, man. Bam, bam. You know what I mean? But bad idea. And you can't fight the government. Seriously, American government is, they've been fighting wars non-stop, I think. I think 240 something wars since America became independent in the course of their history. And I don't think they've had a single year of peace since the Second World War. I think they didn't fight anything in 1946, and then they started again in 1947, and they haven't stopped since. So no, you can't fight them. That's nonsense. And so okay. And the other thing I want to say, which got nothing to do with our discussion this afternoon, but it was very interesting. You said two pennies, didn't you? You said
2 pennies worth.
2 pennies worth. Okay. Back when I was a young man, back in the good old days, we used to say tuppence.
Tuppence, yes.
Tuppence. That was the years. Threepence and tuppence. And I can still I can still recall in my mind's eye what they looked like. My favorite uncles used to give me tuppences and threepenny pieces. There was a lot of money, by the way, a lot of sweets.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely, it was.
Nothing.
So okay, let's get on with the show here. The problem that seems to happen a lot, which is what we see in a foreign location, is so many mass shootings in and around schools. I mean, I don't quite understand this. Why schools?
You're precious. It's your precious.
What? Precious.
The most precious things you own are your children. Most precious things you have are your children, and they just want to get back at people. They just want to get back at them. It's anger. It's deep-seated anger. It's rage. And I'm going to take away from you the thing that you love the most, and there's nothing you can do about it because afterwards I'll kill myself. So that deep-seated rage, that's what it's all about. I mean, that guy wasn't even American. Breivik. Was he Norwegian or
that's in Norway though. No, that was a Norway mass shooting.
No, I'm saying that's what he wanted to do. That's why he went looking for the young ones. Went to a youth camp. Probably, I don't know what his life story is, but I'm tending towards he couldn't get any sweet young little girls, so he went off and killed them instead. You can't get a hold of a good girl, pretty girlfriend. You take it out on innocents. It's why didn't you go shooting in town, for instance, just randomly? Why there specifically? Why
Easy
not break into an
targets.
old people's home? You can break into there and off people. No one does that. I'm not suggesting they should start, man. If they do start, it's not Ty that suggested it, okay? But you think that these people are halfway there anyway, and you're just easing them out, and no big problem, man.
When you're picking on the kids, it's
Yeah.
horrific. It's
Yeah.
horrific.
And what, like you said, why? And then it's like one, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then now churches. All of a sudden, they're going into churches.
I know.
And the other guy just went into an ordinary. It wasn't even a shopping mall. It was just shops. Just shops. And I actually saw that. I saw the video, and he just stopped his car and just started shooting. And a lot of people didn't even understand what was going on because people were falling down. They were trying to process it. Like,
yeah.
What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then reason, the specious, stupid arguments they give afterwards. I don't like black people. You don't like black people. The very first person in shot was a white woman.
Yeah.
But you said you don't like. So how does that work?
It was nonsense. It was nonsense. Just justification
after the fact, I think, because that you shot a white woman, so that was the first victim was a white woman. So how does that make any sense? And if you shoot 10 black people, you haven't really solved the problem.
No.
You're going to have to shoot a lot more before you start talking about the final solution.
Well, what are they? They're not thinking straight, are they? It's just.
What would they have done if they were been living in the UK? They wouldn't have been able.
Showed a paddy. Yeah, wouldn't have been able to do it. Exactly.
That's the thing. They
wouldn't have been able to do it. They could have gone out and caused a ruckus with a stick or a knife, but even if they'd done it with a knife, it's not as deadly as a gun. And also, what is this love affair with AK-47s? What? Why? Why would you want? Okay, maybe not that specific model, but why do you need almost a semi-automatic gun? I mean, you can't justify that for hunting. I mean, what would you need one of them for?
Somebody did. Surprisingly, a black guy. I didn't know that black people went hunting, to be honest with you, which is very stupid of me, I suppose. And a lot of people must look at me thinking, this guy's an idiot. Well, I didn't know what I didn't know. You can't blame me for that. I'd always assume, because every movie I've seen, all the people who go hunting, they're all white. And I didn't realize that black people went hunting too. And this black guy on YouTube was sounding off and saying, look, if you're faced with a charging bear, right, these guns that you and I consider to be serious guns, they don't work. It's like the early pioneers. I think I mentioned this in an earlier show. The pioneers said, don't shoot bears, it just makes them angry. Right? So you're going to shoot and stop a charging bear, you need some serious firepower. And that was his point. Like, you can't.
Absolute, pardon my language.
I've
ridiculous justification for everyone to have a semi-automatic. Right.
Well, he said they need access. He said they need access to it. I don't know if he was saying it for everyone, but he said hunters need access to it. Whether he meant just hunters or whether he meant everyone. But he said this is why. He was talking about hunters. So this is why we need these guns, because we are hunting out there and it's dangerous.
Okay, then you go to special reserves where you can go hunting. You collect your gun in a special armed, sealed place. You then hunt, and then you come back. You put the gun back. It's sealed again, and you come home to your ordinary-sized gun. Which that you can keep guns. I mean, other countries
where you leave them, because we over here, I think we've got gun clubs, and you can leave your gun at the gun club.
You have to leave your guns there. You have to have them kept there. Yeah, exactly. So there's ways and means of doing it without taking the guns away. But this fixation, this fear, and that's what it is. It's a fear that you're going to lose something.
You're losing out.
You don't want to.
Fear of missing out.
We're not going to take the guns away. The idea is not to completely phase them out. If you want guns, absolutely fine, keep guns. But blooming heck, have them in a more controlled environment. That doesn't take a lot of effort, and it just makes things safer. And you will eventually, I mean, the argument again, I'm saying it again, I said it earlier, where they say, oh, baddies will have guns. But you've created that environment. It's been created. But you know what? A bullet from a normal standard gun will kill a baddie just as well as one bullet from an AK-47. Now, granted, you'll have easier shots, but a bullet's a bullet. So just stick with the normal handguns. We're not saying you have to get rid of all guns, but get rid of some of these semi-automatic stuff. It's unnecessary. It's my opinion, remember. But from my point of view, because I'm not bound by this Second Amendment, because it's an American thing, to me it seems archaic. It seems silly to use that as some people use it as an excuse. Oh, we have to bear arms, you're felony, you're affecting it.
I don't know why I'm ending up playing devil's advocate. I don't really want to, but the Swiss take their guns home and they don't have gun crime like they do in America.
Yeah, but they have to lock them up, don't they?
Well, they take their guns home. This is the
no, but lock them up at home. They can't be on display. They're not allowed to be. They have to be in a secure, locked.
So,
cabinet.
Would you be happy for Americans to have these guns securely locked in their homes? I think a lot of them do securely lock their guns in their homes.
No, they don't. No, that's what they don't.
Okay, would you be happy then if they did? Would that make you stop and say, yeah, okay, that's it, you're happy now?
I wouldn't say 100%, but certainly a step in the right direction. If that was something, yeah. It's because you've got them in your drawer, you've got them under your pillow, you've got them where the kids sometimes find them. It's just anywhere in the house. And how many, I mean, this is crazy, right? Suicides in America from gunshots. They lead the world in the suicide rate from gunshots.
Well, as someone who has suffered a lot from people stepping in front of trains, I don't mind too much. Because really, you're trying to get home and then it's disrupted because somebody stepped in front of a train and then you just difficult getting home. If that person had
it's disrupting your journey home. The guy is under the train is not good.
Well, if he had a gun or he or she had a gun and had done it at home, then they'd have achieved their aims and I'd have gotten home on time. So I don't support that argument.
Very selfish view, though. If you think that you're worried more about getting home than you are.
Yeah, I am worried more about getting home because if you're going to off yourself, try and think about others. Jump from a high place. Swim into the ocean. Why must you stop Euston Station, for God's sakes, man? Come on. Have a heart, man. That's what I'm trying to say. And if you're not going to have a heart, then I'm not going to have a heart either. It's a reciprocity. So anyway, that fails for me. It's like, if we're going to have guns to make knocking ourselves off a lot easier, let's have guns. I'm saying if that's the sole purpose. But obviously, it can't be the sole purpose. And I've already said, you can't give Tayo a gun. So that's my. By the way, Tayo's way of dealing with things is quite black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one way you could get rid of guns in America is this. From being found in possession of a gun to being executed should not be more than 7 hours. No excuses, no long story, nothing. You've got a gun, it's in your possession, off to the court, the all-night court, yada, 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 evidence, pictures, video, blah, 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 stamped, outside, end of story.
Evidence?
Yeah.
How would you garner evidence if you...
No, the police thing.
Cameras?
Yes.
And that's enough to convict somebody?
It's all over. So I assume there'll be a couple of miscarriages of justice. Never mind that. In general, people will become so frightened of having a gun or being anywhere near a gun, they'll shop their friends. That's what you want. You want a stage where people are so frightened that they start shopping friends and family.
You don't want to be in that scenario.
In very short order, you're thinking about the generation you said. I'm thinking just a few months. Under a year, it's all sorted out. Under a year, there'll be this visceral fear of being anywhere near a gun. I mean, you just break into a mafia guy's house, you find a gun, he's the owner of the house, you take him outside 7 hours later, you shoot him. It's just what?
That's a rather simple solution.
A lot of my solutions are so simple.
I thought we sort of agreed that it's okay to defend your home and have a gun. But just
no, I never agreed to that. I don't think you should have guns at all. Like you said, if you want to be in a gun club, then the gun is kept at the gun club. You go to the gun club, you do your shooting practice and everything, you take your competitions and so on and so forth, and Bob's your uncle. Now, okay, so you ask me, well, if I'm going to a competition, what happens to my guns? Okay, so I suppose when if I was going, I live in Northampton. If I was going to Manchester to take part in a gun competition, I'd tell my gun club would arrange to have my gun transported to Manchester for me. I'd pay. And then when I get to Manchester, to the gun club there, where I'm going to take part in competition, my gun is there, right? So I never need to have my gun outside of a gun club. Nobody ever needs to have that. And if you're going hunting, like you said, there's a very well-defined area, right? You go to the lodge, the hunting lodge, whatever it is, administration place, you get your gun, you go if you're found outside of that place with that gun, man, I'm sorry, man, 7 hours later, you've left the planet, okay? So you better flip in the way you are, and there's supposed to be a fence. Don't cross any fences, man. All right?
But in America, it's not like that. You've got vast areas of, land that crosses over, and it's not clearly defined with fences.
If they can send billions and billions to Ukraine, they can spend a few $100 million to fence this place, to fence their what you call. They love guns. Let me tell you what I'm waiting to say, because I did some research on this.
Okay.
There's something actually weird. You know, when you said about fighting the government, it's the second amendment. Well, America is arming its federal officers in the most peculiar and unintuitive departments you can imagine. If I were to say to you, the IRS,
the tax people,
they collect taxes.
Yeah.
America is in the process of employing an extra 90,000 IRS agents. Okay.
Right. And they're just collecting taxes. So
and they've already bought 4,500 guns and 5 million rounds of ammunition. The IRS. And this is from the Wall Street Journal.com. WSJ, which stands for Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. Okay. But aren't these tax collectors meeting force when they go and collect taxes? Is this why the decision was made to arm tax collectors in IRS? Because too many of them were coming under fire or threat when they tried to collect taxes because people are not paying.
They said it's because, according to the Wall Street Journal article, it says it's because they want to attract more people into the department, and one way to do that is to give them guns.
Whoa!
It's the attraction is that you're armed and you've been trained in the use of weapons and so on and so forth, and you're legally entitled to carry a gun now.
It just
graduates weren't staying. Young graduates weren't staying in the IRS. Found it boring.
Wow! And so the appeal to stay is that you're going to get a gun, you get taught to use it, and that's the justification. Dear Lord.
Now, supposing you have a student debt in America. Do you expect to ever have to face somebody who's armed because of your student loan? Debt for your student loan?
You'd hope not.
All right. So the Department of Education, and it is the Department of Education, has started arming its agents, I suppose you call them, and sending them out for early morning raids in an effort to try to recover student debt.
Good.
Armed officers.
God.
I'm laughing. I shouldn't be laughing.
But hasn't President Biden now written a law which has taken off $10,000 off of everybody's student debt? It's costing them a lot of money, but they're wiping $10,000 off everyone's student debt.
Is that going to
Yeah,
stop? Is that going to stop people from going around saying that they want the
well,
rest of
no,
our
of
money?
course it won't, but it
I mean,
will help.
People owe something like $90,000, don't they?
I know.
All right, so 10,000 off. Where's the rest of our 80,000? Where's our 80,000 then? I mean, the whole idea is what's with the dawn race? It sounds very Gestapo, very
It's awful, isn't it?
very Stalinist kind of thing. What are you doing with early morning race? Just knock on the door at some point and excuse me, can we have a word about this student debt?
Yeah, but the
what
thing
do you
is,
need guns for?
okay, you're here, you're reading an advert maybe because that's
Advert.
well, okay, a story
Hmm.
which is saying this, but it could be after several attempts at communicating. There've been
Even so, Tony, man, it's a blooming debt. It's actually not even a criminal case, is it? Isn't it more a civil case? It's where's our money? You didn't steal it. You didn't break it.
exactly.
It's not, it's a civil liability case. It's like you owe us money.
Yeah.
I know you owe the government, but then again, with weapons.
No, it's
Right?
just insane. Although, I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I know of all the deaths from gun crime, America actually is not the number one country for deaths from gun
guns.
crime. It's from guns.
To be, in my opinion, to be a South American
It
country.
is. It's Brazil.
Is it Brazil?
Brazil.
I'm shocked. It ought to be Honduras.
Just slightly ahead of the USA in terms of gun-related deaths. But then they've got the problem with a lot of
the slums,
Latin America
slums.
You're talking about all sorts of things. I mean, the population there, for instance. I mean, let me read here. They've criminal gangs, drug trafficking. They've got economic deprivation, where they've got big, almost city-size squalor.
Yeah. Call them
favelas, residential instability, absence from school, lawlessness, and even then, compared that to the America, because America hasn't got any of these really to the same degree. They haven't got favelas. They haven't got social deprivation.
They have projects, but not quite as big.
Nothing like that. And they're only just ahead of the US. But the US one, which is really interesting, 9 out of 10 violent death is men.
Yeah, men, right?
Yeah. And the highest number of deaths from homicide is between the age of 20 and 24.
Black men, I think, is the highest, isn't it?
It didn't give me where they were from and what background they were.
Black on black crime, because it's usually black people killing black people, unfortunately, and that's what we have over there. Yes, well, that's interesting. I mean, there's no big correlation between poverty and gun crime. Yes, the poverty in Brazil is terrible, but so is the poverty in India.
Yeah.
But they don't have a gun problem in India because they don't have guns.
No.
And I think a lot of the guns filter down. The problem with Brazil is that there's a connection to America, almost a land corridor, if you like. And, it's where guns come from. So, because there are more guns, right? More guns in America than there are people.
Yep, that's the problem as well. I mean, India do have deaths from gun crime, although it's tiny in comparison. It's a quarter of the United States.
I'm surprised it's even that high.
It is that high, but
then again, look at the population.
Exactly, it's 1.2 billion, whereas America 330 million.
So a quarter of the gun crime, but with twice the population.
3 times the population size.
3 times the population size.
3 times the population.
So that's actually a 12th, proportionally.
Yeah, a 12th in comparison. Yeah, so it's not really a big issue in comparison in India. But because you've got so many people, you're going to get some gun crime. We get gun crime in the UK. We've got no guns, but we're talking, single-digit numbers here.
I don't know where the guns come from even.
Well, you can still get them from illegal illegal means,
And where?
shipped
How?
in.
I've tried.
Well, no, you
I've not
don't.
tried to get a gun, but I've tried to imagine. I've tried to imagine how. Okay, if I wanted to get a gun for nefarious reasons, I absolutely don't know where to get one. And you can't just run around asking people because you're going to get nabbed by the police. Yeah, can't run around and say, "Oi, where do I get a gun?" It's like.
Did you know that if you needed a gun for hunting purposes, say you're a farmer and you need it to control certain vermin on your farm, you can apply for a gun in the UK if you're a farmer. But
it's not going to be a shotgun or something.
Yeah, it's only a shotgun. Yeah, so you can go boom, boom. That's it. You have to reload. Yeah, and the shotgun is like I said, it's not really for hunting. It's for dealing with vermin, and it's not an AK-47 equivalent. It's a shotgun, and also you have to go through a vetting process. You have to have it signed off by the commissioner of the police. You also have to have it signed off by a doctor. And it's not just any old doctor that you happen to visit. It's got to be certain types of doctors. They then have to fill in a form. They then have to do an assessment on you as an individual. And this all has to pass. And then it goes through a certain body. And then they decide whether it's feasible and then they approve it. So you have to have all this to get a gun. So farmers are allowed to get guns. But this is the process they have to go through. They have to go, every single one has to go through a sort of a mental assessment by a doctor to basically say that they've got the capacity in order to do it. And the police have to justify it because it's needed for what they do as a job. So if you wanted to go and get a gun, the thing that would disadvantage you straight away is, what do you need one for?
Not only that, I have a feeling that the commissioner may be doing this. So Mr. Boyer, this statement that you made in a podcast that I had better not have a gun. Has that changed much, Mr. Boyer?
Big stamp, rejected.
Is there any reason for us to believe that things have changed? I don't think so.
Rejected, yes, exactly.
You're out. You're gone.
So you can, like I said, you can get guns in the UK.
And me, in all honesty, you know what I'd say? Well done, Commissioner. Well done. God knows how many people you've just saved. Sorry, what were you saying?
The thing is, you see, there is guns in the UK, but they're screened, they're raised, and also
they fight them. They fight every tooth and nail. This National Rifle Association. Every time somebody tries to do something about it, I think Obama tried to do something about it and said you need to jump through certain hoops. And one of the hoops was, I think, you just need to wait for a week or a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
that was it. And they were like, no, no. If you wanted to, in the heat or passion of the moment, you thought, I'm going to get myself a gun, and then I'm going to do something. Then you had this sort of like cooling off period. Yeah. You know what? I don't really want a gun after all. And these people fought tooth and nail, against it. Now I don't know what the compromise was, but just amazing. Just wait a couple of weeks, and that was like no. My constitutional rights.
I don't know whether they believe that is. The point is do they feel they're going to lose money? Is that all it is? It's, you're now dissuading them from buying. The thing is, you wait a couple of weeks, you bought it, you pay then and there, but you just wait 2 weeks to get it. That's all. You've paid for it, you're going to get it, but then you can have a cooling off period and go, actually, no, I don't really want it. So
no, it's them in the Constitution. It's them in the Constitution. Some of them really deeply believe in this Constitution thing of this. Really believe in it. It sounds silly to us, but from what I've read on the internet and everything, they are serious about it. And then the other people just love their guns. When you say Americans love guns, it's not. You're not kidding. I don't know what Britons love like that. Maybe a pint of beer. I don't know. Back in the old days. But I don't know that we love anything like that, the way they love their guns. their guns and their flag and whatever. So it's
I mean,
really
okay, talk about the flag. Actually, the flag, that's okay, separate subject here. But the fact that they like their flag and they're proud of their flag, actually, that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing because
there are two
you're
sides
proud of
to
your
it now, aren't
country.
there? There are two sides because now the left is sort of poo-pooing that now, isn't it? It's being someone who loves the flag now is being a sign of like is taken as being like a Trump supporter. You're sort
They're
of beyond.
politicizing something which is actually good on their part. If you're proud of your flag and your country, that's a good sign. I think that's great because you respect your country, you're proud of where you live. That's a good thing. It's the gun laws, in my opinion, is that they need to be looked at with objective eyes, not emotional eyes like some of them are. The argument now with some people, you can't even have a discussion, a rational discussion. It's like, no, 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 no. Well, hold on. That constitution, the amendment was written, as we've discussed already, a couple of 100 years ago. So it was for those times. I bet you if we went through the amendments that were made to the Constitution, we'll find some old constitutional statements that actually don't really apply today. But why do they feel that this one in particular has to be to the letter? Oh, that's it. Constitutional right. You can't affect my rights. Can't affect my ability to have a gun. I think it's like what you say. They've got a love and a fixation with guns. And once that happens, I don't know how you can take it away.
I don't believe it's so. Now I get into the meat of the matters. What to do about it? It can't be done internally. Nothing's going to happen until America has been conquered by an external actor.
What?
I mean, nothing is going to happen about American guns until America is conquered by an external actor. Can't be done internally. It's impossible to do it internally.
Why do you think it's impossible? Why?
It's too divisive.
Too entrenched.
People are too entrenched. It's too politicized. You just can't do it.
What about these constant deaths of kids? When is a line drawn where it is actually enough is enough? Does it have to be a politician or even the president's kid that's shot before something is actually done, or a whole ream of them? So they're all a certain band of politicians, all their kids are horribly killed by a mass shooter. Is that when things happen? Do you have to wait to that point? Or are they not sensible enough to look at it and go, look, come on, guys, this is enough's enough. Or they're just so concerned about voting and votes that they just pander to the minority that are vociferous about guns. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
The thing is,
what I'm seeing from a foreign point of view.
The thing is that when anything ever happens, the antidote to that is seen as more guns. That's how it's spun now. Like when the very last shooting in New Mexico, I believe it was, maybe Arizona, I can't remember which state. The guy went into this school, nursery school, I believe it was, or at least kindergarten, or very young children, found a door that should have been locked and wasn't, and went in and killed all those children. And the police themselves were hanging around. If you remember the story, the police themselves wouldn't go in. And it was an off-duty border guard, I think, who said, "What are you people doing?" Walked into the school and shot the guy. Now, the point is that afterwards, people were saying, if the teachers had been armed, they could have stopped him. So you see what the antidote to that became more guns. And that's why I'm saying that it's not going to matter. What happens? Everything's always going to be, they should have been armed. Or arm the kids. You arm the kids.
I know.
I don't mean the kindergarten. I'm talking about where it happens in the school. They say, well, the kids have been armed, taught responsibly. So what? 16-year-olds running around with guns, or at least the teachers, so teachers now become armed. And then one day, teacher's going to go off on one and kill someone.
And kill the kids, yeah. What if the kids have been unruly and the teacher kills the kids? Oh, we should arm the kids now against the teachers.
They're
Oh, I
already
don't like
saying
this homework.
they're
I don't
already
like you
saying
giving
arm
me
the kids.
homework, miss.
Yeah,
Poof.
yeah.
I mean, it's just nonsense. I'm
It's
sorry, it's
incredible.
just nonsense. Though those arguments are just ridiculous. You don't give. You just have to police the guns more. Full stop. So they don't go into the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Just make it tight. I don't get it.
By
What's
the way, why does
wrong?
it have to be guns? By the way, you understand what I mean? It says it should be armed, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it mentions muskets. Does it? No, it doesn't mention muskets. It just says it should be armed.
Mm.
Why does it have to be guns? You should be armed. Why doesn't the government say, well, okay, we now mandate you to carry a club, a 2x4 club, and there you are, you're armed. Why does it have to be guns?
That's
Because
a good point,
if you talk about weapons, what if I want an atom bomb?
Yeah.
So, well, I deserve an atom because you, the government. I'm trying to defend myself from you. You've got nuclear weapons. I need nuclear weapons. So maybe one track is just to go. It wasn't specifically stated that it had to be a firearm.
So is it just the NRA that have used that as the example? Because that makes sense. Or does it explicitly say, that's a good question though, does it say anywhere in the amendment of the type of weapon that they use?
Because I've asked myself this question. I'm not just asking now. I've asked myself this question before. I thought, where does it stop? Well, that's going up towards more powerful. At the same time, if you're going up towards, you can also go step down and say, it doesn't say anything about firearms. Like I said, that law was written when they had muskets. Yeah. All right, you can carry muskets. You're not going to be able to carry out a mass shooting. No. With powder.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom, powder. Yeah. You'll be swamped. All right, so let's go back to muskets then for you. That's what. So anyway, I was just thinking.
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, that's something to consider. Definitely. Is it based on actual fire? Is it that explicit as to what type? Because you're right. Because where does this go? Okay, if someone has, I justify it's a gun, if that's what they believe the right to arms is, why can't I have a hand grenade?
Yeah.
That's small enough, put it in my pocket, concealed, but if I get in trouble, hey, it's where does it stop? Why AK-47? Oh, I can have a semi-automatic because it's...
I can quote it for you. I found it on
okay.
I found it on Wikipedia.
Yep.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There you are. That's it.
To bear arms. That's interesting. So, it really is the definition of bear arms. What does that mean?
Well, I guess that's what the courts are there for.
Yeah, bear arms. So if everyone was bearing an arm with a stick or a club, that's still bearing arms.
Yeah,
but it's not as dangerous. But equally, someone could say, well, the right to bear arms, well, I want a hand grenade or I want a rocket launcher.
Exactly.
Why can't I have one of them?
I want a HIMARS, man.
Yeah. Maybe there is some place that you can buy one but is it illegal? You see, if that's illegal, this is a question now. Now, obviously, if our American friends are listening to this and probably want to throw things at us while we're discussing US gun laws, I don't know about this, but is there a law against anything but a gun that you can use in this instance? So if that is the case, that there are explicit laws that say or forbid anything more than the gun, then what you've done is you've changed the interpretation of that amendment, haven't you? So if you can do it with that, you can do it with handguns. You can say, okay, we can adjust it so that you can bear arms, but it's not a gun. I think the issue is more the NRA in that case then, because they have quite a high level of power in the US and influence, and they sponsor so many things. So the politicians who are sponsored by the NRA are obliged to vote in their favor and so forth. And I believe some prominent politicians are directly sponsored by the NRA, but I could be
I think they got quite a lobby, quite a huge lobby.
Yeah. But don't they offer, as part of this lobbying group, don't they offer cash incentives for certain things? Maybe not directly to the politician, but to the politicians, I don't know what they do, their programs, their funds, things like that. So, well, we're not going to give you money, but we're going to help you with your campaign. Does that not happen?
I don't know. I generally don't know. I don't know about that.
Because that to me is maybe how it's a sweetener, isn't it? I mean, if you think about that logically, if that is what's going on, I don't know. We need to double check. But if that isn't that some, not bribery, that's too strong a word, but you're putting some serious influence.
It's kind of corruption. It's a little corrupt.
And there are a lot of politicians in the US system which are directly still linked to third-party organizations. So clearly, if they're representing their people, they're going to be influenced by the company that's funding them, are they not?
Well, I'd have thought so, but when when you have the government purchasing 11 million rounds of ammunition for the Veterans Administration. You know the Veterans Administration in America, the soldiers who come back from the wars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the VA, as we call it. Well, they've got 11 million arms of ammunition, along with camouflage uniforms, riot helmets, and shields.
Wow.
Specialized.
Why do they need that?
Why do they? What's the flipping problem? Who's causing your issues? Why are you doing this? The Department of Health and Human Services has got 4 million rounds of ammunition, in addition to 1,300 guns, 5 submachine guns, and 189 automatic firearms. Social Security Administration, the Social Security, 800,000 rounds of ammunition. And then the Environmental Protection Agency, 600 guns. Last but not least, the Smithsonian Museum, right? And I think it's in New York, I think. The Smithsonian employs 620 armed special agents.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean,
so that's like the British Museum having 620 armed. I think that's a small army, man. Why?
I mean, we haven't touched on the specific state laws at all, where some states you've got to have a concealed weapon, some you've got to walk around and show you've got one. So there's differing laws between the states. I know California was actually ranked the top state in America for gun safety because they've got the strongest system of removing firearms from people who they deem shouldn't have them. So for various reasons, mental health, could be a threat to the community, prohibited because they've, broken the law in some other area. So that means they lose their right to the gun. So they actually do remove guns from the population more so than anybody else. And when they do that, lo and behold, they have less gun crime. Isn't that interesting? So it's the authorities taking a stronger line. Yeah, taking a stronger line to remove it from people who they deem shouldn't have them for whatever reason. And the reason seems to be justified in terms of, they could be a threat just by profiling. They have committed previous crimes. It means you lose the right for a gun, which makes sense, even if you're just a thief. The fact that you've committed a crime previously, then that means you've lost your right to a gun. I mean, that makes sense. If you've attacked somebody in any way, shape, or form, be it adult or child, again, you lose your right to have a gun because you're now deemed as unstable. So these rules that California are adopting seem to work, and they've reduced the gun homicides in that state more so than elsewhere. So maybe we're not saying get rid of all the guns if you really don't want to, because at the end of the day, America's free to do what it wants. But if you can see the examples of some states, the way they approach the gun laws and the way that they prevent the possibility of this gun violence, then maybe adopt those across the whole country, perhaps. It's just that the differing states, it's chalk and cheese, the way that they operate. I mean,
well, that's the whole point, though, isn't it? That's
the whole point of the US.
Union of independent states, more or less. That was the idea.
It is the idea, but they still control federally. So why couldn't it be a federal decision?
They're not control. There's a limit.
Yeah, there is a limit. In fact, there's very little of the control.
The idea of trying to impose the federal will on states I think the court would throw it out, to be honest. Supreme Court. Do you know why there's that second amendment, by the way?
Was it the Brits?
The militia. It sort of was, but the idea behind it, which is a really, really interesting idea, and you will see how far America has fallen from what the so-called founding fathers, what they had in mind, right? The idea of the militia was so that America wouldn't actually need a standing army.
Oh, right.
The whole idea was that if there was going to be an invasion from by a foreign nation or whatever, then the militia would form and would fight off the invader, and then disband and then go home afterwards. So they wouldn't need a standing army. And now America's got, I think, one of the largest standing armies in the world.
Yeah.
One of, I don't think it's the largest. I think the Chinese.
No. China's got the largest of them.
Right? Yeah. So isn't that amazing that you've gone all the way from there to saying that, it's just how things get corrupted over time. And the concepts even get diminished and ruined. And you end up with this strange situation where you're having a mini civil war, if you like. Is that the right? No, insurrection. It's not a civil war. It's not two sides fighting, but it's just chaos and mayhem, on a grand scale. But because it's low level and continuous, Americans probably don't recognize just how peculiar the country is.
No, they don't, because they're in the thick of it, aren't they? They're not seeing that.
No, they were born into it. That's just a system, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a one I wanted to bring to you, which seems rather odd. Colorado, for instance, they have the Vote Without Fear Act. Okay, this is an act which prohibits a person openly carrying a firearm within any polling location or central count facility. So you can carry guns anywhere else, but you can't have them within 100 feet of a ballot box.
Yes, people have been waving guns around saying, step forward only if you're a MAGA. Only if you're wearing a MAGA hat. Which would tend to dissuade the Democrats, I think. Some guy's waving a gun around going, okay, maybe I'll vote next time.
Yeah.
But it's just...
I mean, Delaware, for instance, has signed a package of safety bills that they prohibit assault weapons, though, and high-capacity magazines. And obviously extra background checks. So it's like each state is almost treated like a separate country, isn't it?
It is. Certain things. It's like the abortion laws. That's different in each state now.
I know. But it had to be directed from above, didn't it? There's almost you can't deviate too much from the federal level, though.
No. In this particular case, I don't know that much about it, but I do know that someone was saying that they have to coin a new term for what they're trying to practice in New York, I believe it is, New York State. They said what they're trying to practice really is plain simple murder, but they want to coin a term which is postpartum termination.
What?
Postpartum termination.
And what's that? How's this
Well,
work?
after the child is born, we kill it.
Oh.
Postpartum is after the birth. So that means for 9 months, child is born, and then you execute the child.
What?
Oh.
That sounds ridiculous.
That's murder, isn't it?
Yeah, that's murder. The child's
Well,
born. So it's.
I think if you look up postpartum termination, that's what they're trying at some point. And that's what some people are actually trying to achieve. There's some feminists or something.
That's incredible. I'm sorry. That's
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the problem being with I'm mindful of the time here. Just talking about that particular subject very quickly. You ban abortion, okay? So you can't kill a child while it's in the mum's womb, but you can openly kill someone with the gun if they're in your house. Isn't that
an intruder, not just any someone, surely?
Well, not any someone, but imagine you got a neighbour you don't like. Invite him round. Come round.
The act of inviting the person means that he's no longer an intruder.
No, but how do you define intruder?
Just somebody who's uninvited, a trespasser, basically.
Well, yeah.
A trespasser in your house is there without your permission.
Yeah.
And then you off him.
Right. So what's to stop that happening now? Think about it. I don't like my neighbour. I want him to come round because we've got a dispute. He'll come round to my house. I've invited him in, but guess what? We don't have the discussion. I just bump him off. And then the police come, and then what? Oh, wow, he came into my house. I had to defend myself.
You invited him into your house. He probably told his wife.
Where's the evidence?
He told his wife, I'm going around to Tony's. We're going to settle this. He told me to come round. That's not going to fly, man. It's like, what? And then you opened the door. Did he break the door? Was it a break-in and entry? He just walked in?
But I don't lock my front door.
All right, and he's not armed. So he's quarreling with you. The wife says you invited him in, and then he opened the front door, and then you decide you're going to do a tie on him, and you go boom, boom, boom. No, mate, back of the van, man. Come on, back of the van. That's not going to fly, man. That's not going to fly.
So what you're saying there is, if you're going to go and see friends,
person.
Okay, but even if you're going to go and see friends, don't get in an argument with them, and don't bring your gun with you. Because if you go around their house,
I get. Oh yeah, you mean me?
Yeah.
No, my friends are always going to be safe. It doesn't matter.
No, but you see what I mean? You see the argument I'm making here in America? If you go around someone's house, where does it stop? If I happen to have a gun that I carry with me anyway, I come in your house and we have a discussion and you're not happy with me, you can kill me. I've got a gun.
Yeah,
you defended yourself.
No, that's not defending. Was there an attack? Were you frightened? I mean, you got to be in fear of your life or something.
But you can't get done for murder, unless I'm wrong, if you shoot someone in your own house.
If you're not fearing for your life, then it's defense, isn't it? It's stand your ground laws, isn't it? You've got to claim self-defense. That's the claim.
Okay.
So where's the self-defense coming from? Just having a heated discussion, and the guy saying,
I was worried that he was going to take a gun out, so I've decided to end it there.
Was he armed?
Yeah, he had a gun in his pocket, but he didn't take it out. But I felt fear for myself.
I think, Mr. Fasulo, that you acted precipitously in that case. And I think I will be sending you to jail for a very long time.
I'd love to know if our American friends can clarify that, whether that can actually happen.
Well, very much.
Because of the example you gave, I believe, from that young 17-year-old.
Yes.
Who
Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, went 3 hours with a semi-automatic.
No, Kyle Rittenhouse or something.
Yes. 3 hours he drove, 17-year-old, with a semi-automatic weapon and killed 3 people and was let off for self-defense. If he's let off for self-defense in that scenario, are you telling me that someone invited into my house, I didn't bump them off, and then I'd get off scot-free?
Anything's possible in America.
Indeed. I'm mindful here. We've actually run out of time. We were going to discuss maybe other topics, but we've done this one. We've waffled from a foreign angle perspective on American US laws. We could be completely wrong and out of our depth, but it was interesting anyway from our point of view. So Tayo, Final summary. What's your view on US gun law viewed from our foreign perspective?
I think they're absolutely bonkers. But what I would really love is for Americans to listen to this podcast or watch the video, lose their trolleys over what they consider to be us talking nonsense, and then get in touch and we'll have them in to come and abuse us and tell us where we went wrong.
On the show. Absolutely. Yeah, we're like that. We'd invite people on, and definitely if you've got a strong case to make, please come on and put us right. Because at the end of the day, we don't do this with guns. We do it with speech, but we do it sensibly. So please, if you don't like what we've said, come and put your point of view across, and we will definitely have you on the show. But unfortunately, the time has come where it is the end of another show for another week.